Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Alvarado, and I am going to be discussing how you book a military tour. I am a stand-up comedian for almost 25 years now, and I've gone on several military tours and just booked my own very recently. And if you hang on till the end, I will tell you the actual website that you go to sign up. So let's get started.
It is so hot out here. Oh my God, people are like, it's a dry heat. Okay, I'm over 40. This is a dry heat. Do you understand? I rolled out of the base. There are so many hot men on this. I started ovulating like immediately. I was like, you know what I'm saying, girl? I was like, all right.
I have been asked by several people, a lot of comics have asked, how do I book that? How do I get involved in that? I want to serve. So I'm going to take you through the steps that I know. Number one, be a nice person. If you want to be booked, this is super important. It sounds so basic, right? But I booked this military tour and I brought 3 amazing comics with me, all headliners. And I know hundreds of comics that are funny, but I would never bring them on tour with me because they're not necessarily nice people. You know what I mean? You got to ask yourself, who would I want to be on a bus with for 7 days, 10 days? Who would I want to be getting on airplanes with, sleeping in barracks with? Who would I want to do life with in a not very easy situation? It's going to be people that are not divas. It's going to be people that don't complain about stuff. It's going to be people that are willing to go in any order in a lineup of a comedy show. Someone that could open, someone that could close, someone that could middle, and have no pride about it. Just be a team player. That is number one. Number 2, be funny and be professional. This is so important. It goes along the lines of the diva part, because I feel like if you're a professional and you know why you're there, then you're willing to serve the troops and kind of go through what they go through at the same time. And I'm like, you are literally entertaining people that are giving up their life, what they know, family life, birthdays, holidays. They're literally putting their life on the line for you, and you're complaining. Their pizza was cold. So be professional. 3, have a lot of variety of material. Because when you're on a military base, it's not the regular audience, right? It's usually younger guys, some women, but you're talking to people who maybe have not been through all the experiences that you've been through because they're younger. So have a wide variety of material. Also, most of the bases are PG shows. Some are PG-13 and some will let you push to an R, but the government is never going to say, yes, they're rated R shows. They're always going to say they need to be somewhat family friendly, because some of the bases have a lot of families and they have kids and they want to be able to bring the kids to the shows. I always discourage that because it's really hard to perform in front of an audience when there's kids. And it's not because, well, it is because I don't like kids, but it is also because it's hard to have material that relates to a child that they would laugh at, even if it's clean, that an adult would laugh at. You're either talking about family stuff or divorce or whatever, the kids aren't interested. When you start talking about Instagram and TikTok and video games, the adults might not be interested. So you have to have a deep bag of material to work with.
Someone on another base told me that their nickname for infantry is Crunchies. Have you guys heard of this? See, that's what I mean. Every single base has their nicknames for one another. And so this guy, after the show, I didn't know what that meant. And he goes, okay, if you've ever played D&D, and I was like, what the hell is that? And then he goes, Dungeons and Dragons. It's Dungeons and Dragons. So if you play D&D, the infantry is like the barbarians on Dungeons and Dragons. And then I was like, oh, you're a virgin. All right, now that makes sense.
Another thing, if you want to do military tours, I would research it before you go, before you even sign up. Ask comedians that have already gone. Ask bands that have gone and toured overseas and entertained the troops. There's a big difference in military tours as opposed to touring the country that you know. There's just a big difference. There's a higher level of security. There's a lot more hoops to jump through. Like an example of that is that I had to take an anti-terrorism test and pass it before I went. I'm a comedian. You have to be prepared because you're going to a place that hopefully it's peacetime, but if something goes down, you are on a military base. That's where they go first to deploy people. So, and other countries could potentially try and attack that military base. So you have to know stuff that, and a lot of times you're staying on base. So you're in barracks. You're not in a nice, lofty, beautiful, plush hotel. You're probably on a different time zone, hardly sleeping, in a different bed almost every day because you're moving from base to base to base. And you're eating at the mess hall with the soldiers. You know, it's not cush. It's not the Four Seasons, man. So if you're going to serve, go with an open heart and know that that's where you're going and don't expect the thrills. When you get them, that's fantastic. Like we did get to stay in a couple hotels that were really nice, but that's a fluke. That normally does not happen. So ask a bunch of comics, ask a bunch of entertainers, and they will tell you. They will also tell you what their favorite regions were to go to. There's bases in Puerto Rico and Curacao, the Bahamas. I mean, there's some bases that are really fun to do like that. But the chances that you will get that as your first assignment are pretty slim because all of the comics want to go to those bases. So just know that you don't necessarily get to pick the region that you go to. You just are sent where they have a need. Another thing you'll want to do is make sure that you are in tip-top physical shape because, like I said, you're kind of roughing it and you're usually staying on the base, but you're doing what they do in a lot of cases, which means you're doing a lot of walking. They're taking you all over the base, but then outside of that, sometimes they take you on tours to show you the city. There's a lot of walking. There's a climbing, there's heat. You're not in America and elevation is different. There's so many different factors. Be in the best shape that you can be in and it'll just be easier for you.
I know you guys are tough and like you defend the country, you know how to work guns and tanks and shit, but here's what I want to know, okay? Where are the men in here that actually know how to use a spatula? Make some noise. Yes? Okay, a spatula to remove your balls from your inner thigh. Is that... Yeah, I know, I see you right there. Yeah, I saw some of you guys doing the wiggle technique where you walk around and you do this shit. I do that too. I have the same problem. My club was stuck to the side of my leg for 45 minutes. You guys don't understand. But I had to roll it up like a little sushi roll. It tastes delicious with wasabi, sir. It's really, I mean, it might sting a little, but you'll love it.
Another thing you need to know about booking a military tour is they don't really pay great. I think there's this misconception of like, oh, Bob Hope did all these USO tours, or these celebrities go and they do these tours. Potentially those people are getting paid more. There's a higher budget for that. But if you're a comic at my level, where you've done maybe some TV and you're known, but you're not a star, that sort of thing, you're not going to make a lot. You're definitely going because you want to serve and also connect and give back and maybe see another part of the world that you would not have seen. I don't know, be realistic, check your heart. You get to choose if you want to do it on an honorarium basis, which means you don't get paid for the shows. You get a small per diem per day, which covers food and other essential needs. So it's not a lot of money to do a military tour. You can write it off on your taxes as a loss of income that you would have had if you prove what you normally make on other comedy shows. You can say, okay, well, I could have gone to the Chuckle Hut in Indiana and gotten $2,000 for the weekend. So that works out for your taxes. It helps as a write-off. But if you opt for being paid, it's not a large amount, and you do have to pay taxes out of that. Again, if you're trying to see the world, do it an easier way. If you're trying to serve, then do this because you'll love it. Also, something that's kind of tough about booking military tours is that the people that book them, like at AFE, which stands for Armed Forces Entertainment, or the USO tours, they're constantly changing up the people who book, the people who actually look at the tapes. And so 1 year you could be in, and then 2 years later, that person or the director, it's somebody different. Because just like when a soldier is on base, these are military personnel that are giving of their time. This is what their job is. But then they get switched and they go to a different base, or they go to a different region, or they just move on from that position. So even though you're in 1 year, it doesn't mean that you'll get booked again. So my advice is, if you really, really want to do a military tour, on the AFE website, email them and let them know that you would love to be a part of a tour. You can actually submit a tape of your act. Everybody gets in a different way. Usually it's by comedians that you already know, and they ask you to come on tour. That's how it's happened to me. But this time I took the initiative with AFE, and I wanted to book my own tour. So basically you want to submit as an entertainer on the AFE website or the USO website. Submit, upload your stuff, let them know that you would like to be on tour.
But I don't know if you know this, but well, of course you do, but we didn't know. Okay, I've never set off an explosive in my whole life before. It was so awesome. But he said, this is protocol. You have to do this. You have to yell, fire in the hole, right? Which is what I normally yell after a weekend in Tijuana. You know what I'm saying? Like that's... Did you get that one? Okay, cool. It's still burning. All right. It is still burning. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. It's credit to these guys. They don't know.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Fingers crossed. I hope you get in on one of these tours. Oh, and feel free to ask me questions. Right now in the comments, I will try to answer as many as I can, as honestly as I can. I have more for you. I have my podcast called Find the Funny, where I do 2 full episodes all about my military tour experience. You're going to love it. So join me on my podcast, Find the Funny. We're going to put a link right below. Click on that and you'll learn even more about all these military tours. We'll see you on the road. Thank you. I'm Lisa Alvarado.